Welcome to the Sam Olawale channel. If you find the content valuable, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. So, Facebook versus Google. Where do I start? So, I had a bit of a thing this morning where I woke up and Google had spent an exorbitant amount of money on my account in a crazy way. Like, it just completely went off the rails. And when I say off the rails, we're talking about spending five figures in like 3 hours in a crazy, like, I'm not even going to get into the BS of it, but basically I wanted to discuss, and I had this video in mind anyway, so I'm not just going to come here and grift on Google. That's not what I'm going to do. But there are issues that need to be addressed. There's issues that need to be addressed. And I think the trend in ad spend is further compounding the fact that Google has a problem. Maybe because they don't make as much money as a percentage of their baseline from ads, but if they want to compete in the ad space, they need to fix what's going on. Facebook, I think in 2020 did about 80 bill in ad revenue. Google did around, I think, 40 billion and falling. I think they're falling like 5 to 10% a year, maybe more. Now, that doesn't seem a lot initially, but compound that over 5, 6, 7 years, Google are going to become insignificant. Of course, they hold all the cards in search, right? But when it comes to the longevity of how people are going to be marketing, and the marketing realm changes quickly. It changes a lot, very, very quickly. The platforms people were advertising on 10 years ago are not the same as they're advertising on now. And I think it's probably going to be the same. And the companies that don't make this shift and move their mindset and platform into the future, they're really going to struggle. So where do I start here? Because in my mind, I kind of feel like Google are like, welcome to the dark side of the force. They're like, they're the Sith. And then you have Facebook, who are the Jedi. That's kind of in my mind how it works. Google are this like nefarious actor that you can't really speak to, you can't really get in touch with. Their platform is cold and rigid. It's not inviting. I know it seems like it's nothing, but their platform is just so difficult to use. You have to use Google Tag Manager and all of these other things, and you've got to connect this, and this, and then you have to add all these scripts, and it's just so clunky. And then it's got the ad platform itself, which is just very antiquated. I would probably say 80 to 90% of the stuff on Google, the Google Ads Manager, is not used. It's antiquated. The conversion tracking doesn't work well. Now, one thing I must say, I'm not an expert with Google, right? I'm not. I have someone in my team who does it. He's pretty good at it. I'm not saying that compared to Facebook, I'm not an expert with Google at all. On Facebook, we're spending like 30, 50K a day at the minute. And in the next month or two, we're going to be pushing this hopefully to 100K a day. I really am looking for like 70, 80 minimum. But with Facebook, I can say with confidence, we're pros. We know what we're doing. We're crushing numbers on Facebook. With Google, we're not pros. We probably spend around 100, 150K a month in ad spend on Google net, right? Which is considerably less than what we spend on Facebook. And with Facebook, we're looking to push really, really hard. We actually wanted to push really hard on Google, but I think that's dead in the water now, considering what happened this morning. I'm going to focus my attention on Facebook way, way more, plus other native ad channels, Pinterest, Snapchat, what else? Reddit as well. So we have other channels, and I definitely believe in diversification. You don't want to put all your eggs in the Facebook basket. But just look at the difference between the two platforms. Like, I know we grift on Facebook. I know that there's an ad apocalypse on Facebook. The ad ban account apocalypse on Facebook. You can get banned on Facebook like this. You sneeze the wrong way. Zuckerberg hears you halfway around the world. You wake up and your ad account is completely shut down. I know this. It's happened to me many, many times, as I'm sure it's happened to all the people in e-commerce who are serious players. This is true, but there's ways to mitigate that. If many people break the rules as well, given, but you can get, foreign ad accounts, agency accounts where they are approved by Facebook, and then you kind of negate all this ad shutdown BS. So there are ways around that. With Google, there's no ways around anything. Now, the Facebook customer service isn't the best, right? But anyone who's moaning about Facebook customer service Go use Google customer service. Go use Google customer service, where they literally are robots. They don't give you proper answers. They don't even look into the insights behind why you're having issues. They just copy paste. These guys are like this. They're like this. There's nothing you can do with this. When the person on the other side of the phone or the other side of the line or the chat is basically a Sith fucking lord, excuse my French, what are you supposed to do with that? So look at the platforms. Look how easy it is to insert a pixel. Look how easy it is. Even now with all this big, let's say, controversy between Apple and Facebook, and the conversion API now needing to be used everywhere instead of just the pixel. Considering how big of a change and how much that impacts Facebook, they did really, really well. You've got to give it to Facebook. They handled the situation pretty darn well, and the shift and the transition over wasn't too painful, especially if you're using platforms like Shopify or maybe WooCommerce is a little bit more difficult, but something like Shopify, it's pretty a seamless thing to do now, the conversion API stuff. And then you can use Zapier as well. There's other programs. This is true. So they actually handled that really, really well, considering how much of an impact it was having on us. I'm not even talking about on them making revenue, on us as people who obviously advertise on the platform. But when you look at how easy it is to implement Facebook, before it was one pixel, you put the code, it was done. Look how easy it is now with the conversion API, even though it takes a bit more of a struggle. Compare that to Google, where you have to use tag managers. You have to learn how scripts work. If you want to do e-commerce tracking on Google, you have to have different data layers. Just telling the average person about tag manager data layers, you've lost 95% of people. Otherwise, you'd have to go and hire a developer full time or a team to come in and do the implementation. And as for people who do implementation as agencies, they overcharge you massively for just doing simple things. And if you want to get a developer where it's more cost effective, now you have to keep that developer on full time. Otherwise, you don't have any work for him. So all in all, when you look at the two platforms, the only thing that I would say Google do well is analytics. You put the code in there, it tracks everything. But analytics has been that way for years. That platform has hardly evolved. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure there's experts out there who know everything about Google who are like, no, Sam, you're wrong. Analytics has evolved massively. I know they've moved over to this GT4, Google Analytics 4 now. So I don't know, maybe I am wrong. But from what I know as an average e-commerce layman, I don't see what's changed with analytics over the years. So when you look at how much lack of evolution there has been in Google Ads compared to Facebook, which is, I would say, easily the most pioneering advertising company on planet Earth, considering how much money they're generating, considering how much I use them, how it's the number one leading platform for marketing for what we do in e-commerce. I don't know how Google aren't quaking in their boots. Like the head of product for Google, for Google Ads, the head of product for Google Ads must be sitting there pulling his hair out, because he's like, he must be like, hey guys, we need to really devote some resources. The platform needs a complete revamp. Google Ads needs to be completely remade. The way it looks is so antiquated and crappy. It needs to, look at the apps. I invest in a few tech companies, right? Just give me a second. So I invest in a few tech companies. And one of the things, I sit on the board, and one of the things that we say is, once we get the software to a certain level, we then have to invest a lot of money into the UX and UI. Because if the thing doesn't look good, if it doesn't look poppy, if it doesn't look modern, if it doesn't look fun, if it's not engaging to use, if it's gray and cold and sterile, which is exactly what Google Ads is, no one's going to use it. No one's going to use it. So we invest a lot of money once the product is at a certain level. Before we finalize the product, we invest a lot of money into making the UI and UX really, really sexy to use, basically. Google needs to start there. At least make the thing visually appealing. Remove 90% of the redundant stuff and then start rebuilding. I think that would be a great place to start. And their algorithm, the way it works, like it doesn't, like with Facebook, it's so great. You can do conversions, which most people are obviously trying to generate leads or sales. On Facebook, you put conversions, you can do purchase, you can do lead in a couple of clicks. It just works like this. The backend pixel just starts figuring out with all the brains, with all the magic, to get you more and more sales of the same, or more and more leads of the same. With Google Ads, it's not like that at all. It's so difficult to even optimize for that. To make lookalike audiences in Facebook is so easy. In Google Ads, it's so difficult. Again, I'm not an expert. Maybe some of these things I've got wrong, I admit. I'm not saying I'm pinpointing every single problem on a deep dive, because I'm not an expert with Google Ads. But as a layman, if I'm thinking this, and I'm a pretty smart guy, I don't think I'm a genius or anything, especially not when it comes to Google, but when it comes to being able to pick up platforms relatively quickly, learn them and apply them, people in my team and myself are really, really good at these things. And we struggle a lot to use Google compared to Facebook. And if we're feeling that way, I'm sure the majority of people in e-commerce feel the same way. So I'm just saying, I didn't want to sit here and just grift on Google. I think I probably have a bit too much, but when I compare Google to Facebook, and the fact that I want to diversify more, I want to spend more money on Google, I want to spend more money on YouTube, which is done through Google, it kind of makes it hard for me to sit here and justify. And I guess my experience this morning being basically, bent over without no lube by Google for, around 12 grand in one day for no real reason at all, it's kind of made me a bit pissed off, But yeah, I wanted to make this video anyway. Google, they do many things well, I'm sure, but from what I can see, their marketing platform and their ads platform is not one of those things. Not just the look and feel, but also the AI, also the way it works for conversions. They need a lot of revamping. They need to rebuild the thing from the ground up, to be honest. Thanks for watching. That's about it. If you've got the same sort of experience with Google, or if you think I'm talking complete nonsense, please tell me in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. And if you love Facebook as much as I do, despite their shortcomings, despite the ad ban apocalypse, despite the ad account disabling, I know all those things are there and we can moan about those. And I'm sure I'll be making videos about this as well in the future. But as a comparison, I think you can't even, Facebook is up here. They are the Jedi, they are the light, they are the future. And these guys at Google, they unfortunately are the Sith. Thanks for watching.